25. Red Barn. Kicking off this nostalgic journey, we return to Red Barn, a famous fast food chain founded in 1961 in Springfield, Ohio. The name of this chain was not random. The restaurants were uniquely designed, shaped like barns and painted a striking red. This iconic design created a friendly, rustic style, inviting families to stop after long trips or to find a quick meal. Red Barn quickly surpassed being just an ordinary burger joint to become a pioneer. Did you know that before McDonald's legendary Big Mac was born and dominated the world, the Red Barn chain proudly served its own Big Barney burger? The Big Barney offered a bigger, more satisfying burger experience, shaping the palate for an entire generation of Americans. But what truly made Red Barn ahead of its time lay in another incredible innovation. It was the first burger joint to have a self-service salad bar. Imagine in the 60s and 70s, amidst the booming fast food wave, Red Barn offered customers the freedom to choose fresh vegetables, customizing their meal, an idea that was truly revolutionary at the time. Unfortunately, the failure to maintain and manage led to the closure of most locations by 1988. It is a shame that a fast food icon had to leave the game, leaving behind nostalgic memories of the bright red restaurant image and the flavor of the great Big Barney. York Steakhouse. York Steakhouse, a name that conjures up images of a hearty dinner in the middle of a bustling shopping area. You know, York Steakhouse was a steakhouse. It was a complete steak experience right inside the mall. Customarily, your family would be strolling through stores and then decide to take a break with a hot meal, without having to pay the expensive price of a high-end restaurant. What made York unique was the service style. Cafeteria-style, self-service. Customers would queue up, select their steak, baked potato, and perhaps a side of mac and cheese, all served on characteristic plastic trays, creating a feeling that was both simple and satisfying. York Steakhouse was the answer for those who wanted a hearty, warm meal without paying luxury prices. The key factor leading to York's resounding success in the 70s and 80s was locating primarily in shopping malls. At its peak in 1982, York Steakhouse had nearly 200 restaurants in 27 states, from Texas to Maine, demonstrating that this model filled a large void in the mall dining market. It was indeed a bold idea, stopping in the middle of a shopping trip to enjoy a full steak dinner. However, the reliance on malls also led to the chain's collapse. As shopping malls began to decline and food courts shifted towards faster, more streamlined fast food trends, York Steakhouse couldn't keep up and gradually disappeared from food courts across the country. Steak and ale. What made Steak and Ale famous? When talking about steak and cozy ambiance, we cannot ignore Steak and Ale, a chain founded in 1966 in Dallas by Norman Brinker, who later also founded Jack in the Box and Chili's. Steak and Ale's initial goal was incredibly ambitious, to provide a premium steak experience at a lower price compared to other high-end restaurants. Steak created an intimate, romantic atmosphere, providing the feeling of dining in an antique inn. It was the signature prime rib and New York strip, always the favorite choices of diners. But perhaps the biggest and most remembered attraction was the unlimited salad and soup bar. This bar was a supplement but considered a crucial element of the dining experience, allowing customers to enjoy the freedom to choose from a rich variety of appetizers. Thanks to this attractive model, Steak and Ale flourished, reaching 280 locations nationwide by the late 1980s. However, fierce competition and changes in dining preferences caused the chain to struggle. Finally, in 2008, the chain's parent company filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, resulting in the closure of the last 58 locations. If you were born in this decade, you would know that the Steak and Ale story is not entirely over. The parent company of Bennigan's has acquired the brand and is making efforts to restore the chain in recent years. PUPNTACO. Have your family ever explored ahead of its time adventurous cuisine at PUP and TACO? This chain represented a quirky and unique combination of American and Mexican fast food. Fusion. Imagine you were debating between a classic American hot dog and a crispy Mexican taco. PUP and Taco solved that problem by allowing customers to buy a hot dog and a taco in just one stop. This was the place where you could hold a hot dog in one hand and a crispy taco in the other. An odd but incredibly satisfying combination. Their menu was a chaotic yet interesting mix, from chili dogs to bean burritos, catering to every craving. PUP and Taco broke all the rules of culinary classification at the time, showing it was truly ahead of its time. This wasn't a regular restaurant. This was the place for people who couldn't decide between a burger or a burrito. Alas, this adventure didn't last forever. PUPNTACO locations were gradually acquired by other brands, and the brand slowly disappeared. For those who once dined here, PUPNTACO is a reminder of a time when cuisine was as adventurous as we were. Showbiz Pizza. Showbiz Pizza is a name that made every 80s kid cheer. Beyond the purpose of selling pizza, it was a chain combining pizza and arcade games, creating a sanctuary of entertainment and the most popular birthday party venue of its time. Founded in 1980 in Kansas City, Missouri, Showbiz Pizza created a new concept for entertainment dining, where children could truly be themselves. The most special feature, and perhaps what made Showbiz legendary, was their introduction of the animated robot performance called Rock-a-Fire Explosion. Imagine a stage with lively robot characters like Billy Bob, the country bear, a keyboard-playing gorilla, and a cheerleader mouse, performing rock music and interacting with the audience. It was truly every child's dream birthday party. However, it didn't last long. The story of Showbiz is tied to their biggest rival. In 1984, Showbiz acquired its struggling competitor Chuck E. Cheese and operated both chains independently. But then, a major decision was made. By 1992, all Showbiz Pizza locations were rebranded as Chuck E. Cheese's, and along with that, the legendary Rock-a-Fire Explosion performance disappeared. This change marked the end of a distinctive entertainment era, and for many, the feeling of Showbiz Pizza has never been replicated. If these restaurant chains reopen today, which dish do you think would become popular again in the food courts? Share your thoughts. Howard Johnson's Hojo. Now let's step into the empire of Howard Johnson's, or Hojo. You know, it was once the largest restaurant chain in the United States. The story began with a small ice cream shop in Massachusetts in the 1920s. But Hojo quickly expanded into a full-scale restaurant, becoming an icon of Americana along highways and shopping centers. What was Hojo's distinguishing feature? It was their distinctive orange roof. That orange roof was once a warm, welcoming sign during long family road trips. Hojo's menu served classic American diner dishes, from burgers, fried clams, baked beans, chicken, and of course, ice cream. Express versions of Hojo even appeared in shopping malls, serving a quick meal that still felt nostalgic. At its peak, the chain had over 1,000 restaurants. But soon after, the relentless rise of the fast food wave with its speed and convenience made it difficult for Hojo to compete. Gradually, locations began to disappear. By 2022, the world witnessed the closure of the last remaining Howard Johnson's location in Lake George, New York. Hojo's passing is a great loss, marking the end of an era of travel and dining. Mrs. Fields Cookies. After the main course, it's time for us to seek a little sweetness, and nowhere did that better than Mrs. Fields. For regular mall goers, no trip was complete without a stop at Mrs. Fields. Do you think Mrs. Fields just sold cookies? In truth, they sold perfectly sweet moments. The special thing that made Mrs. Fields legendary was that they always served warm, fresh, just-baked cookies. Every time you walked past the kiosk and inhaled the irresistible aroma of baking chocolate chip cookies, that scent almost instantly drew you in. Their cookies were famous for their soft, chewy texture, providing a homemade feel. Furthermore, Mrs. Fields was also famous for its giant cookie cakes, often the centerpiece of parties and celebrations. Although Mrs. Fields still exists today in some select locations, it is no longer a primary brand in the mall as it once was. Regardless, for many, Mrs. Fields represents a time when every mall trip had a guaranteed sweet ending. Who wouldn't want to go back to a time when a hot cookie was all it took to make a day great? Sambo's. Sambo's is a name fraught with both history and controversy. This was a famous pancake house chain that started on the West Coast. The name Sambo's originated from combining the names of the two founders, Sam Battistone and Newell Bonet. However, the chain quickly became associated with the story of Little Black Sambo, a controversial children's book about a South Indian boy. Instead of shying away from the controversy, the restaurant embraced the story and even displayed illustrations from the book on the restaurant walls. When the chain began expanding across the United States in the late 1970s, fierce controversy arose because the name was considered insensitive and offensive. Public opposition and ethical troubles seriously affected the chain. After several unsuccessful attempts to change the name and a series of poor business decisions, the company filed for bankruptcy in 1981. Although most locations were sold off, one notable exception was the original location in Santa Barbara, California, which stubbornly retained the Sambo's name until 2020, a stubborn attachment to their controversial past. Wags, Walgreens. Wags is a classic example of large corporations attempting to expand into the restaurant sector. Wags was a casual dining chain operated by the pharmaceutical giant Walgreens, and it was designed to be a 24-hour service chain, very similar to Denny's. Wags started in the 1970s as a restaurant division of Walgreens. Interestingly, some locations were built right inside Walgreens drugstores, providing maximum convenience for customers. You could buy medication and then sit down to eat right there. By the late 1980s, the chain had 91 standalone locations. Suddenly, Walgreens made a significant strategic decision. They wanted to focus entirely on the drugstore business. They began selling off the locations. The chain was eventually sold to Marriott Corporation in 1988. But even Marriott couldn't find a way forward for Wags. They tried to sell off what was left but couldn't find a buyer, and as a result, all remaining Wags locations officially closed in 1991. Chi-Chi's. Among these restaurant chains, the story of Chi-Chi's is perhaps the most catastrophic and heartbreaking. Chi-Chi's was a popular Tex-Mex chain, founded in Minneapolis in 1975 by former Green Bay Packer Max McGee. Thanks to its appealing Tex-Mex model, the chain expanded rapidly and reached 230 locations in the US and Europe at its peak. Chi-Chi's was where many Americans were introduced to Mexican Texas cuisine. However, fate destined a tragic end for this chain. The company began struggling and filed for bankruptcy in 2003. But the worst happened just a month later. The chain faced the largest hepatitis outbreak in US history. The cause was identified as contaminated green onions. This terrifying outbreak caused 4 deaths and 660 people to fall ill. This event dealt a fatal blow to public trust and the company's financial stability. As a result, in 2004, Chi-Chi's closed all US locations. It is hard to find a restaurant chain with such a catastrophic and tragic end in American culinary history. Hot Shops. Hot Shops carries a deeper historical significance than just cuisine. This family restaurant chain was founded very early in 1927 by J.W. Marriott. Their goal was to develop Hot Shops not merely as a restaurant chain. It was the foundation, the launching pad that helped J.W. Marriott build his massive hotel empire 3 decades later. Hot Shops was known for its family style, famous for classic dishes that customers loved. Among them were the legendary Mighty Mo Burger, the Teen Twist Sandwich, the refreshing Orange Freeze Milkshake, the Sweet Hot Fudge Ice Cream Cake, and a seemingly endless buffet. That buffet was a symbol of generosity and choice. Later, as the Marriott Hotel empire began to grow and became the main focus of the corporation, Hot Shops gradually became one of many restaurant chains that Marriott operated, before deciding to close them entirely. The last remaining Hot Shops location, located in Marlow Heights, Maryland, permanently closed in 1999. If you could go back and enjoy one last meal at one of these locations, which dish would you choose and at which restaurant? Share your memories in the comments. Kenny Rogers Roasters. Kenny Rogers Roasters is a testament to the combination of celebrity and comfort food. This was a restaurant chain founded by country music legend Kenny Rogers. Before rotisserie chicken became a standard item in supermarkets, Kenny Rogers Roasters turned it into an art. The chain was famous for its richly marinated, juicy rotisserie chicken, prepared with a distinctive flavor, giving the feeling of a home-cooked meal with a little extra love added. This wasn't just a fast food spot in the food court. This was a place where you could sit down and enjoy a hearty meal. Customers loved ordering a rotisserie chicken, serving with classic sides like creamy mashed potatoes, sweet corn, or green beans. Kenny Rogers Roasters offered a combination of quality comfort food with a hint of country flavor. However, as fast food trends constantly changed and developed, the chain struggled to keep up. Although it has disappeared from most food courts in the US market, for those who enjoyed it, it was how chicken became a warm and sincere dining experience. Hot Sam Pretzels. Hot Sam Pretzels is the icon of mall snack food. For those who grew up in the 80s and 90s, the feeling of inhaling the aroma of freshly baked pretzels wafting through the air was a special delight. Hot Sam was more than just a snack. It was the original pretzel chain in the mall. It was the chain that started it all, long before other pretzel chains appeared and dominated the market. Their pretzels were famous for their soft texture, buttery, hot. Customers could choose to have them plain, salted or covered in melted cheese, or even the sweet cinnamon sugar version. Many even remember the tiny plastic cheese cups served alongside. Hot Sam Pretzels was the ultimate portable comfort food, a simple and perfect indulgence. Unfortunately, like many pioneers, Hot Sam was overshadowed by other competitors and gradually eliminated from most shopping malls. We wonder how many people still remember a Hot Sam pretzel as characteristic of a simpler time, when carbs were not the enemy and the pretzel was the ultimate mall snack. Bob's Big Boy. Bob's Big Boy wasn't just a burger chain, it was an icon of the California burger and deeply ingrained in the memory of generations across the country. Founded in 1938 in Southern California, Bob's Big Boy quickly became a beloved dining spot. The highlight of this chain was the signature Big Boy burger. This burger was famous for its 3-slice bun, sandwiched between 2 beef patties and all the fixins, creating an unmistakable structure. At its peak in 1989, Bob's had over 240 locations. However, after being sold to Marriott in the 1960s, the chain made a classic mistake, expanding too fast and too big. The rapid expansion led to debt, and by the 1990s, stores began closing in large numbers. Today, Bob's Big Boy has almost disappeared. Sadly, only 4 restaurants bearing the Bob's Big Boy name remain, and all of them are located in Southern California. Burger Chef. Before McDonald's Golden Arches became the dominant fast food giant globally, there was Burger Chef. Burger Chef was a beloved burger joint with a unique twist. For many, Burger Chef was not just a burger, it was a blank canvas for the ultimate DIY burger experience. The most special feature of this chain was its revolutionary invention, the Works Bar. Imagine ordering a basic burger and then proceeding to a self-service bar filled with all kinds of toppings like pickles, lettuce, onions, sauces, etc. Here, you could customize your meal to your liking. The Works Bar provided a sense of freedom and control over the meal for customers, something truly groundbreaking at the time. Do you remember the excitement of loading up on extra pickles or ketchup? As the era progressed, when other fast food giants with simpler and more efficient processes began to grow, Burger Chef struggled to compete. Despite offering a personalized experience that many still crave today, Burger Chef eventually faded away. Orange Julius. Once upon a time, a name that evoked the taste of endless summer days and mall strolls could only be Orange Julius. Orange Julius wasn't just the name of a drink. It was a frothy, creamy, thick drink, humorously described as 1 part smoothie, 1 part mystery. Honestly, no one really knew exactly what it was made of, but we loved it with all our hearts. Imagine holding that iconic orange cup, taking the first sip of the sweet and sour orange flavor, the creamy richness with the frothy layer on top and a hint of vanilla hidden within. That was paradise. Stepping into Orange Julius, you felt you weren't just there to quench your thirst. This space was almost always a crowded social event. You couldn't walk through the entire mall without seeing someone with that bright orange cup. If you were lucky, you'd have it with one of their hot dogs, simple yet perfect. This flavor was so distinctive that it became addictive. The combination of sweet and sour orange with the creamy foam created a unique refreshment. Not long after other smoothie chains took over and the market changed, Orange Julius gradually faded. Eventually it merged with Dairy Queen in some locations, but for the nostalgic, that flavor and quality were never quite the same. Do you remember the feeling of loading your own toppings at the Works Bar? Or the taste of your first Orange Julius? Tell us your youth story. Sbarro. If the food court had a king, it would definitely be Sbarro. Sbarro sold pizza, and it was also dubbed the Pizza King in all shopping malls. For many, a trip to the mall was incomplete without seeing the oversized slices of pizza displayed under the lights. The magic was that those lights somehow made everything look both irresistible and slightly questionable. But who cared? Just walking past Sbarro instantly drew you in with the distinctive warm aroma of garlic butter and cheese. Do you remember those gigantic pizza slices with cheese stretching like in the movies? Yes, you probably burned your mouth on the first bite, but it was totally worth it. Sbarro appealed due to its simplicity. Large slices of pizza, rich flavor, and that characteristic slightly greasy taste you couldn't easily find elsewhere. However, as food courts became more sophisticated and more gourmet and healthier options started appearing, Sbarro was overshadowed. Today, finding a Sbarro store in the mall is like finding a lost piece of history. Sbarro was more than just pizza. It was the taste of independence, of holding a slice of pizza and wandering through the mall. Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers was a fast food chain that offered a unique charm. The fast food joint was an authentic Western-themed experience. Named after the famous cowboy Roy Rogers, the chain turned a quick meal into something more memorable. The most prominent feature and the one customers remember most is the Fixins bar. Imagine holding your roast beef sandwich or fried chicken and heading straight to this self-service bar. The Fixins bar allowed you to pile on countless toppings like pickles, lettuce, onions, and various sauces until your sandwich was perfect according to your preference. Roy Rogers offered customers the freedom to personalize their fast food meal, a unique opportunity that made every bite perfect. However, the Western charm and the Fixins bar could not withstand the trends. As other fast food chains with simpler menus began to dominate the market, Roy Rogers gradually disappeared from many shopping malls. For those who remember it, the Fixins bar is a pure nostalgic memory, a place where you could make everything just right. Rack's Roast Beef. Rack's Roast Beef was considered the quirky competitor to Arby's. This was a fast food chain focused on roast beef sandwiches, but offered a much more diverse experience. Rack's didn't stop at just roast beef sandwiches with a slight twist. Their menu was quite extensive, including curly fries, milkshakes, and notably they also had a salad bar. Rack's attempted to create a more mature dining environment compared to typical burger joints, inviting customers to sit down and enjoy their meal rather than rushing off. Imagine a fast food joint with a salad bar, a rather strange combination at the time. Rack's had a distinct style, offering the feeling of a small culinary adventure. However, the rise of larger fast food chains gradually overshadowed Rack's. For those who remember it, Rack's was a unique experience that many still crave to return to just for the nostalgia. The Magic Pan. The Magic Pan brought a touch of French elegance into the hustle and bustle of the mall. In that era, you certainly often strolled through the mall and treated yourself to a crepe stuffed with creamy chicken or rich chocolate, bringing a hint of Parisian flavor in every bite. The Magic Pan stood out due to its classy decor and sophistication that was hard to find at typical mall eateries. It represented the first taste of French cuisine for many people. Later, facing the trend of food courts shifting towards faster, simpler dishes, the Magic Pan struggled to keep up with the faster pace. Eventually, it disappeared, leaving behind sweet memories of the last crepe for those lucky enough to experience it. Morrison's Cafeteria. Morrison's Cafeteria was not a typical mall restaurant. It was a genuine sit-down experience of a self-service restaurant. Morrison's brought the feeling of home-style cooking right into the middle of the mall. Imagine walking through the service line, choosing between mashed potatoes, green beans, crispy fried chicken, and a slice of pie that seemed to be calling your name. Morrison's was famous for its traditional Southern comfort food. For many, dining at Morrison's was like eating at Grandma's house but located in a bustling shopping mall. It provided a comfortable pause in the middle of a busy day of shopping. However, as food courts evolved and the cafeteria format became less popular, Morrison's faded into memory. It couldn't keep up with the faster food trends. Chick-fil-A Dwarf House. Chick-fil-A Dwarf House was a restaurant that allowed you to enjoy a scaled-down, legendary Southern experience. You would be walking past the food court and discover a miniature version of the restaurant that started it all, Chick-fil-A, complete with the famous chicken sandwich and characteristic Southern hospitality. Oh, what a wonderful feeling. The most unique and charming thing about the Dwarf House was that it sometimes had a tiny door for children to enter. It served not only the classic chicken sandwich, but also many Southern-style sides like cornbread and collard greens. While Chick-fil-A grew into the fast food giant we know today, the Dwarf House retained the charm of a nostalgic note about the brand's early days. Over time, as larger Chick-fil-A locations began popping up in food courts and elsewhere, the Dwarf House concept became rarer. For those lucky enough to experience it, the Dwarf House was not just a place to eat. It was a small piece of Chick-fil-A history, making every meal feel special. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor was a destination that many children of the 70s and 80s longed for. Farrell's was not simply a place to eat dessert. It was an exciting event, with a carnival vibe and elaborately decorated ice cream dishes, almost like a performance. This place had a classic, family-friendly atmosphere, where birthday parties were celebrated grandly. Remember the servers in the familiar striped uniforms bringing out massive ice cream dishes and drums and horns being blown loudly throughout the room in celebration? Their most famous item was the Zoo, a colossal sundae brought out by multiple servers, decorated with flags and sparklers. Farrell's was a place you looked forward to, especially if you had a sweet tooth. Inevitably facing competition as time passed, fast food chains and simpler dessert spots emerged, making Farrell's harder to find. For those who experienced it, Farrell's was where ice cream became unforgettable, a memory covered in whipped cream and sprinkles. The Great Steak and Potato Company. The Great Steak and Potato Company was a food court classic, combining two of the heartiest meals, steak sandwiches and baked potatoes. This was the place for anyone looking for a truly satisfying meal. A hot, sizzling cheesesteak sandwich would be made to order, topped with bell peppers, onions, and melted cheese. This cheesesteak was served alongside a massive baked potato, loaded with toppings like sour cream, bacon, and chives. The Great Steak and Potato Company was the solution to the food court dilemma, when you wanted something more satisfying than a slice of pizza. It provided comfort food perfected. Unfortunately, as food court options shifted towards faster and lighter choices, the Great Steak and Potato Company began to disappear from shopping malls, replaced by newer, trendier options. B. Dalton Cafe. B. Dalton Cafe was a hidden gem for book lovers and coffee addicts. Imagine browsing the shelves at the B. Dalton bookstore and then finding a cozy seat in the cafe. This place was a cozy cafe, surrounding you with the smell of new books and freshly brewed coffee. It was the perfect place to find a quiet moment. You could relax with a novel in hand and enjoy a cup of coffee and a pastry. B. Dalton Cafe offered a unique experience, combining reading and relaxation in a very personal and comfortable way. It was a small, quiet oasis. However, as large bookstores and digital reading began to take over the market, B. Dalton, along with its cozy cafe, gradually disappeared from shopping malls. Not everyone remembers it, but it's a warm memory of a simpler time, when coffee and books were all you needed for a perfect afternoon. Ponderosa Steakhouse. Ponderosa was a place where you could sit down, take your time, and truly enjoy a full meal. Ponderosa Steakhouse was a chain that brought a casual, family-style steak experience into the mall, catering to those who craved a truly satisfying meal that was still affordable. The simple meal offered an experience that brought everyone together, providing a hearty meal at a reasonable price and convenience. Besides serving steak dinners, this chain was also famous for its hearty, unlimited buffet. Customers could freely walk through the serving line, choosing between mashed potatoes, green beans, mac and cheese, and of course, plenty of perfectly cooked steak. However, similar to York Steakhouse as the food court dining format shifted towards faster, less filling options, Ponderosa began to disappear from shopping malls. 25 everyday things that made growing up in the 1950s great. What made childhood in the 1950s truly magical? In America, the 50s weren't just a time of charm and simplicity. They were also marked by great economic prosperity, with rising living standards for many families. If you lived through those years, wouldn't you love to turn back time and relive those cherished moments? Today, let's take a look back at the special memories that anyone who grew up in this era still treasures with deep nostalgia. Stable families. Imagine an era where families could thrive and be stable on just one income. This, combined with a strong sense of national pride and optimism about the future, created a positive and hopeful atmosphere that permeated every aspect of life. This was a period when many families could achieve the American dream, owning a home, a car, and raising a family. Men would go to work to support the family, while women took on the role of staying at home, taking care of children, and managing household affairs. The mother's presence at home provided children with nurturing, guidance, and boundless love, creating a sense of security and stability that was rare. In that home, everything seemed orderly and warm, a haven where every child felt protected and deeply cared for. This traditional family structure was not just an ideal, but was also strongly reinforced by the mass media of the time, from familiar television shows, movies, to advertisements. Everything painted a picture of happy, complete, and close-knit families where each member had a clear role and felt a sense of belonging. The distinctive purr of bicycles. A distinctive and nostalgic memory of 1950s childhood is the unique sound created by bicycles. Children back then invented a simple but incredibly engaging game, clipping a baseball card to the spokes of their bicycle wheel. As the wheel spun, the card would hit the spokes, creating a pleasant, crisp sound, much like a motorcycle engine running at full speed. Out on the street, you would see boys riding their bikes fast, the purr from their bicycle spokes echoing, blending with the sound of the wind and laughter. It wasn't just a simple game, but also a way for children to express their personality, create distinctiveness, and attract the attention of friends. Every boy wanted his bike to have the most distinctive and impressive sound. They were symbols of freedom, of endless afternoons cycling around the neighborhood, exploring every nook and cranny without overly strict adult supervision. Milk. While you were still sound asleep, a familiar sound would suddenly echo from the street. The clatter of horseshoes on the road, or the clinking of glass milk bottles hitting each other. That was the milkman, a familiar and indispensable figure in daily life. He would come right to each door, placing fresh milk bottles into special holders on the porch. This was a distinctive cultural feature, a part of the slow and intimate pace of community life that cannot be found today. Occasionally, as a special treat, you might even receive delicious chocolate milk. The sweet taste of chocolate milk early in the morning was perhaps one of the best childhood memories, a small joy powerful enough to brighten an entire day. The image of the milkman, whether by horse-drawn cart or truck, brought with it an atmosphere of peace and reliability. This food delivery service was a way of showing care, connecting residents and service providers in the community. You see, though perhaps not as convenient as today, life and human interaction back then were much more rustic and genuine. Fluffernutter Sandwich. Were you the child sitting on the school lawn opening your lunchbox, happily enjoying your Fluffernutter sandwich, eating and laughing with friends? For children growing up in the 1950s, lunch at school or home was often associated with a classic dish that many still reminisce about: the Fluffernutter Sandwich. Seemingly simple, this sandwich was a symbol of warmth and convenience. It was made from 2 slices of bread, spread with a rich layer of peanut butter and a fluffy layer of marshmallow creme. The slightly salty taste of peanut butter blended perfectly with the sweet and clear taste of marshmallow, creating a distinctive, unforgettable flavor. Sometimes, to enhance the flavor and appeal, a few thin slices of banana were also added, making the sandwich even more delicious and nutritious. Remembering it brings back a sense of carefree days, with hurried lunches full of laughter and childhood stories. Fluffernutter became the taste of childhood, a symbol of simplicity, convenience, and small but meaningful joys. Cozy home-cooked meals. One of the most vivid and cherished images of 1950s childhood is home-cooked meals, which became an essential part of family life. With skillful hands and boundless love, mothers would go to the market, meticulously prepare each dish, and serve hot meals. When the clock chimed, the whole family would gather around the dinner table, setting aside the day's distractions. There were no smartphones, no social media, just affectionate glances and shared stories. Dinner was a time for everyone to tell each other about their day. Fathers recounted stories from work, mothers shared household chores, and children excitedly boasted about their mischief or small achievements at school. The atmosphere was cozy and filled with laughter. Everyone enjoyed delicious food and precious time for family members to truly bond, creating comfort and strengthening relationships. Those evenings became the foundation for deep understanding and love, forming beautiful memories that anyone would want to keep in their hearts forever. The family's shared car. Owning a car was a sign of success if you grew up in this era. However, unlike today, many families back then had only one car. Everyone in the family had to share and coordinate their schedules skillfully so that the car could serve all needs. Father went to work, mother went to the market, and the children went to school, or played, all needing that car. Instead of an inconvenience, having only one car unintentionally became a wonderful way for families to spend more time together. It encouraged them to plan activities together, especially exciting road trips. Thus, there were long weekend trips, the whole family crammed into the car, with suitcases and food baskets neatly arranged in the back seat. These trips were opportunities to create lasting memories, fun stories on the road, and unforgettable bonding moments. Unlimited creativity. These toys were tools for children to explore the world around them, develop logical thinking and problem-solving skills. Childhood in the 1950s was defined by simple, inexpensive toys, yet they had the ability to stimulate children's imagination and unlimited creativity. Without glittering electronic screens or complex devices, children spent hours playing with items like jacks, marbles, paper dolls, and yo-yos. Each toy was a world of its own. With shiny marbles, children could create elaborate marble arenas on the ground. Paper dolls became close friends, dressed in clothes made from fabric scraps, creating endless fairy tales. Seemingly simple yo-yos required skill and patience to perform complex tricks. Additionally, there were hula hoops, Lincoln Logs, Play-Doh, and Mr. Potato Head. Hula hoops provided hours of fun physical activity. Lincoln Logs helped build miniature structures, Play-Doh opened up endless modeling possibilities, and Mr. Potato Head allowed children to create funny faces to their heart's content. What do you want to bring back from the 50s? Let us know what you'd like to see in our next video. The 1-cent candy paradise. For children in the 1950s, the five and dime store was a true paradise, where every sweet dream could come true with just a few pennies. This was where children could buy countless different types of candy, and the best part was that most of them cost only 1 cent. Imagine a child with little money but beaming eyes entering the store, faced with a colorful world of candy. From fake cigarette candy, just to pretend to smoke like adults, to fake cigarette coconut candy, Charleston Chews, Bazooka Gum, Necco Wafers, Bitter Honey, Atomic Fireballs, Root Beer Barrels, and Candy Buttons. Each type of candy had a distinctive flavor and shape, making the choice incredibly difficult yet exciting. Children could choose for themselves, weighing the quantity to fill a paper bag with lots of candy. The five and dime store also sold small joys, early experiences of independence and freedom of choice. Black and white saddle shoes. In the world of fashion, there was an indispensable item and a symbol of style: the classic black and white saddle shoes. Most people, from students to adults, owned at least one pair of these shoes. What was special was that these shoes were always meticulously cared for and polished to the point where you could see your reflection in them. Most young girls or boys preparing for school or going out would meticulously clean every detail of their shoes, ensuring they were shiny and free of any dust. Saddle shoes were not just a fashion accessory, but also part of a ritual of neatness and style. They were the perfect accessory for colorful poodle skirts. The contrast between black and white created an elegant yet dynamic look, suitable for many outfits. However, these shoes were not just for dresses. They also looked great when paired with jeans, creating a comfortable yet personal style. Saddle shoes represented an era where attention to detail and personal style was highly valued. Poodle skirt. If one mentions women's fashion of the 1950s, the famous poodle skirt cannot be overlooked. Poodle skirts were colorful, flared skirts, usually knee-length or longer, primarily made from soft felt fabric. The most unique and recognizable feature of this skirt was the exquisitely embroidered image of a poodle on the wide hem, creating a graceful and adorable look. The name poodle skirt comes from this. Young girls often loved the vibrant poodle skirt, twirling on the dance floor or walking down the street, the skirt flaring with every step, attracting all eyes. The skirt provided an elegant look, reflecting the dynamism and optimism of women at that time. It was a symbol of youthfulness, of romantic dates, of lively sock hops. The poodle skirt was like a part of memories of self-confidence, of the joy of expressing individuality through clothing, and of an era where fashion had a sweet and adorable beauty. Soda fountain. This was the ideal place to meet friends after school, or a dating spot on Friday nights where youth stories were shared and first loves blossomed. These establishments were often located in drugstores or along the main street in the town center, just a short walk or bike ride away. Teenagers in the 1950s considered soda fountains to be prominent gathering spots. The space featured a long bar, swivel stools, and shimmering neon lights. There you could enjoy refreshing drinks like ice cream floats or rich milkshakes, prepared right before your eyes. These sweet treats not only quenched thirst, but also brought a feeling of relaxation and fun. In a corner of the shop, there was usually a large jukebox, where you could insert a coin to choose popular rock and roll songs, creating a lively and romantic atmosphere. Soda fountains were also where you could buy and read the latest comic books, exploring the world of superheroes and exciting adventures. Do you remember any items from the 50s that you still cherish or wish you could find again? Share below. Sunday evening. As night fell every Sunday evening in the 1950s, a special ritual took place in many families. Everyone would gather around their new black and white TV. Television was a relatively new medium, but quickly became a popular way for families to spend time together. Instead of everyone doing their own thing, these evenings were a time for all members to immerse themselves in the world of entertainment, enjoying hours of relaxation and laughter. Shows like The Ed Sullivan Show were a highlight, offering variety from music, comedy to special performances, attracting all ages. Additionally, there were other beloved shows such as I Love Lucy, The Lone Ranger, The Mickey Mouse Club, and The Honeymooners. Humorous sitcoms, adventure stories, or musical programs became an indispensable part of family life, creating wonderful entertainment evenings and shared memories. The flickering light from black and white TV screens could be seen through the windows of many homes along the streets on those evenings after sunset. Before television became popular, families also often gathered around the radio to listen to shows like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet and Amos and Andy, and some of these shows were later adapted into TV shows. 3D comic books with space glasses. Rainy days in the 1950s were not boring for children, as it was the ideal time to immerse themselves in the world of books and comic books. And the most special thing was when comic books started becoming 3D in the 1950s, bringing a completely new and magical experience. Imagine a child sitting by the window, watching the rain fall, and opening a 3D comic book. Famous comic books like Mighty Mouse even came with a special pair of space glasses. When wearing these glasses, the two-dimensional world on the pages suddenly came alive. Characters and scenes seemed to pop out, creating a magical world. Reading comics was like directly entering the adventure in the space and time of the story. Images of superheroes like Mighty Mouse flying, exciting action scenes became more real than ever, stimulating children's imagination and excitement. This was a small technological breakthrough, but had a great impact on children's entertainment, turning rainy days into opportunities to explore magical worlds. Those are memories of creativity, of the joy of discovering new things, and of a childhood nurtured by rich imagination. Are you still with us on this nostalgic journey? Drop a yes in the comments so we know you're enjoying it. The chime of the good humor. Ice cream truck. Every summer in the 1950s, there was a special sound that all children awaited and listened for. The cheerful jingle of the ice cream truck bell. It wasn't just a bell, but a call of joy, of coolness and sweetness amidst the sweltering summer heat. The ice cream truck, likely the famous Good Humor ice cream truck, would slowly roll down the streets, and children, with their keen ears, would immediately recognize that sound. Instantly, they would eagerly rush home, eyes sparkling, begging their mothers for a few coins to buy a cool ice cream bar. Imagine a group of children surrounding the colorful ice cream truck, their eyes admiring the variety of ice cream, from traditional vanilla to sweet strawberry or rich chocolate. Choosing an ice cream bar seemed like the most important decision of the day. The ice cream truck bell not only brought sweets, but also an atmosphere of carefree days, endless summer afternoons, and sweet childhood memories. It was one of the simplest but deepest joys, a symbol of summer and the freedom of children. Friends from all over the world. Writing letters with pen pals was how young people connected when the world didn't have internet. For a child, becoming a pen pal with someone from a faraway country was an incredibly exciting and enriching experience. The anticipation of receiving an envelope from somewhere in the world, with a strange stamp and a few lines of handwriting, was indescribable. Each letter was a door opening to a new world. Children would exchange letters, learning about each other's culture, customs, interests, and daily lives. They could talk about their school, their favorite games, their family and friends, and in return, they would learn similar things from their pen pal. This not only helped children broaden their geographical and cultural knowledge, but also developed their writing and communication skills. Each letter was a gift, an invisible thread connecting across geographical distances, forming special and lasting friendships. Rock and roll. The 1950s was a period of great change in music, especially with the explosion of rock and roll music. This was a time when music was not just for listening, but also for feeling, for expressing the rebellion and passion of youth. Families in the 50s often had record players at home, and children could spend hours listening to their favorite songs. Music was an important part of the culture at the time, and rock and roll became a major influence on young people, creating a new cultural wave. And when talking about 1950s rock and roll, one cannot help but mention Elvis Presley. With his iconic pompadour hairstyle, sensual dance moves, and captivating voice, Elvis helped kick off the rock craze. He was not just a singer, but a phenomenon, a cultural icon that completely changed the landscape of music and fashion. Young people idolized Elvis, imitating his style, from his hairstyle to his way of dressing. Elvis's music and rock and roll in general brought new energy, freedom, and an optimistic spirit, creating lively dances and unforgettable musical memories. Those are memories of music, of change, and of a generation that dared to live and express itself. Mimeograph machine. In the school environment of the 1950s, there was a special office device that most people remember, the mimeograph machine. Before modern photocopiers came along, this was the primary way to create document copies at school. What was special about the mimeograph machine was not just its function, but also the experience it provided. This machine created copies with a unique purple ink, and most importantly, it had a distinctive smell that most people loved. Imagine a test paper just printed, still slightly damp, with a faint scent of purple ink in the air. That smell was not unpleasant. On the contrary, it evoked feelings of learning, of textbooks, and of a new day at school. For students, receiving a document printed with a mimeograph machine was a familiar part of school life. That purple ink smell became a symbol of school days, associated with lectures, assignments, and exams. Those are memories of the simplicity of technology at the time, of a unique scent that was deeply imprinted in the memories of an entire generation, and of an era where even the smallest things could become a cherished part of childhood. Sock hops. Sock hops were a symbol of freedom, of youthful joy, and of an era where music and dance had such a strong connecting power. They carried a distinctive cultural flair, creating unforgettable memories for young people. When participating teenagers would take off their shoes and dance in their socks. The reason for this was simple and practical: to protect the school gymnasium floor from being scratched by shoe soles. Imagine dozens, even hundreds of students in their finest outfits, but only in socks, swaying and dancing to lively rock and roll music. These dances created a series of popular dance moves, from the complex hand jive, the gentle stroll, the basic box step, and most famously, the twist, a dance that swept across America. Sock hops were a place to have fun, for young people to express their personalities, socialize, make friends, and even for first loves to blossom. Those were evenings filled with energy, music, and laughter, where all the worries of daily life seemed to vanish. Therefore, sock hops were an indispensable part of high school social life for teenagers at that time. S&H green stamps. Go back a decade to experience grocery shopping that was remarkably different thanks to the S&H green stamps reward system. You surely remember this as a unique and very popular point collecting system, used as a reward system for shopping at certain stores. Mothers often returned from the market, carefully taking out glittering green stamp sheets from their shopping bags. Then she and her children would sit down, meticulously pasting these stamps into a special book. These stamps had various values from 1 to 50 points. Each time a book was full of stamps, it could be redeemed for products from S&H's extensive catalog, or directly at one of their redemption centers. That could be new household appliances, toys for children, or even a special gift for the family. This system encouraged customers to shop at participating stores, thereby creating a small joy in daily life. Collecting and pasting stamps became a family activity, a way for everyone to save together and look forward to an attractive reward. S&H green stamps remain a symbol of clever spending, of hope for a surprise gift, and of memories of family bonding in an era where the simplest things carried great meaning. Rotary phones. Communication in the 1950s had its own distinct character, linked to rotary phones and thick phone books. Rotary phones were the prevalent devices at the time, and usually each home had only one. To make a call, you had to meticulously place your finger into each number hole and dial the rotating disc clockwise, then release. This process was slow and required patience and precision. Some phones were even party lines, meaning shared lines with neighbors. If you picked up the phone and heard your neighbors talking, you had to wait until they finished their conversation. This sometimes led to awkward situations, but also created a special sense of community bonding. And as for finding phone numbers? Before the internet or mobile phone directories, if you wanted to contact a business or an acquaintance, the best way was to flip through the thick pages of the phone book. This book was large and heavy, filled with phone number listings arranged alphabetically. You had to turn each page, searching for the necessary address and phone number, a process that required concentration and patience. Though not as fast as now, it had a simple beauty, demanded proactivity, and created memorable experiences about how we connected with each other. The interstate highway system and family road trips. The 1950s saw a breakthrough in transportation infrastructure with the construction of the interstate highway system. The advent of this modern road system revolutionized how American families traveled and explored the country. It made traveling long distances by car much easier and more convenient. Thanks to this, there were many exciting road trips. With the family car and newly opened highways, exploring faraway lands, new cities, or natural wonders became within reach. Along the way, families could stop at popular hotel chains like Howard Johnson's and Holiday Inns, which offered affordable and comfortable accommodations for travelers. These hotels became part of the travel experience, with their familiar signs and warm welcome. Road trips were journeys to discover new places and create lasting memories with family. From watching the changing landscapes through the car window, to small roadside picnics, jokes, or songs sung aloud in the car, all contributed to a childhood rich with experiences. Strong patriotism. Patriotism was no longer an abstract concept, but a concrete, vibrant part of daily life, taught from family, school, and community. In the 1950s, patriotism was a central and important theme in American life. This spirit was nurtured and clearly manifested in many aspects of daily life, especially through the education of children. The American flag was proudly displayed in front of many homes, not just on holidays, but regularly as a symbol of national pride and unity. For boys, participating in activities like Boy Scouts was an important part of growing up. In Scout meetings, they learned about discipline, courage, survival skills, and most importantly, patriotism. They also frequently participated in parades and flag-raising ceremonies, dressed in neat uniforms, solemnly performing rituals, and singing the national anthem. These activities were a way to deeply instill national pride and love for the country into young hearts. Boy Scouts would stand at attention during flag-raising ceremonies, their eyes watching the flag flutter in the wind, feeling the solemnity and sacred meaning of that moment. Deep within were memories of learning moral values, of responsibility to the community and the nation. Drive-in movie theater. Drive-in movie theaters were considered a popular weekend destination and ideal for families. The whole family would drive to the theater, find a good parking spot in front of the giant screen, then park the car, hook the speaker onto the window, or tune the radio to hear the movie's audio. This was a great and affordable way to watch new movies in the fresh air, right in the comfort of their own car. Not only was it a perfect family outing to enjoy movies all summer long, but drive-in movie theaters were also a great place to socialize. You could go to the movies with friends and family, turning the evening into a memorable social event. After parking, you could walk to the snack bar to buy popcorn and other snacks, breathe in the night air, and chat with people. The 1950s saw the boom of this type of cinema becoming an indispensable part of American entertainment culture. Memories of drive-in movie theaters are associated with warm summer nights, lively laughter, and the excitement of enjoying cinema in a unique setting. The tradition of decorating Christmas trees with tinsel. When Christmas season arrived in the 1950s, there was a fun and sparkling tradition that many families loved: decorating Christmas trees with tinsel. Tinsel, with its shimmering silver strands, was carefully hung one by one onto the Christmas tree, creating a magical, sparkling beauty. The scene was truly warm as the whole family gathered around the tree, decorating together with lively laughter and a warm atmosphere spreading throughout the house. Each strand of tinsel placed on the tree was a wish, a hope for a peaceful and happy Christmas season. Along with tinsel, classic Christmas toys like old train sets running around the base of the tree or wooden sleds proudly placed under the branches brought a warm Christmas atmosphere and evoked memories of snowy winters. Looking at the sparkling Christmas tree and the lights, with shimmering tinsel, classic toys, and presents under the tree, anyone would feel a sense of peace and happiness spreading. Surely memories of family warmth, of the joy of sharing, and of a magical Christmas season in the 1950s remain deeply etched in many people's minds. Freedom to play outdoors. If there's one thing that defined 1950s childhood, it was the freedom to play outdoors. Most of children's time was spent outside under the sun with neighborhood kids. Life was not confined within four walls or in front of electronic screens. Every street, every garden, every park was a vast playground. Kids rode their bikes like the wind down the street, their laughter echoing throughout the neighborhood. They climbed towering trees, testing their courage and agility. Street games like Kick the Can and Red Rover were also ways for children to be active and learn important social skills like cooperation and sportsmanship. Was it a familiar sight to see a group of friends running everywhere, shouting each other's names, playing hide and seek until the streetlights came on, signaling it was time to go home? Those afternoons flying homemade balsa wood airplanes over wide fields, watching the planes soar through the air, was a joy unlike any other. Group games helped children learn to share, compromise, and resolve conflicts, building strong friendships. If these beautiful memories brought a smile to your face and evoked fond recollections, don't forget to hit the like and share buttons and subscribe to Back to Yesterday so you don't miss the next nostalgic journey. Thank you for watching.